When I looked back at Days of Thunder, I expected fast cars, loud engines, and Tom Cruise doing what Tom Cruise does best. But behind the speed was something stranger. A movie that NASCAR almost did not trust. A production built around real danger. And a romance that quietly escaped the script. This was not just a racing movie. It was Hollywood trying to turn stock car racing into myth. Released in 1990, Days of Thunder brought Tom Cruise back into the world of high-speed obsession after Top Gun. But this time, the sky was gone, the battlefield was asphalt, the enemy was fear, and the real drama was happening both on camera and behind it. These are 7 weird facts about Days of Thunder that make the movie feel very different when you watch it again. Before the movie could become a racing spectacle, it had to win over the racing world itself. NASCAR was not immediately excited about letting Hollywood inside its tracks, garages, and race weekends. There was a real fear that the sport would be turned into a joke, just crashes, noise, and cartoonish drivers smashing into each other. And honestly, that fear made sense. Hollywood loves exaggeration. But the filmmakers had to prove they were taking the sport seriously. They needed access to real racing spaces, real crews, and real racing atmosphere. Slowly, NASCAR began to cooperate. The strange part is, the movie that NASCAR once worried about eventually helped make the sport look bigger, faster, and more cinematic to mainstream audiences. What started as suspicion became free publicity on a massive scale. This was not an accident. Days of Thunder reunited key pieces of the Top Gun machine. Tom Cruise, producer Jerry Bruckheimer, producer Don Simpson, and director Tony Scott. Only this time, fighter jets were replaced with stock cars. The structure feels familiar for a reason. A talented young hotshot, a dangerous rival, a mentor figure, a crash that forces the hero to face himself. Trickle is not just a race car driver. He is a version of the same character type that made Cruise a superstar. Gifted, reckless, confident, and not quite ready to understand his own limits. That is why the movie feels so familiar, even if you have not seen it in years. It was built from a proven formula. But here is where it gets interesting. NASCAR was not considered a guaranteed Hollywood subject at that time. So the movie was both safe and risky at the same time. Safe because it used the Top Gun rhythm. Risky because the world was completely different. Tom Cruise was not interested in just sitting in a car while the camera pretended he was racing. He trained seriously. He got behind real stock cars and learned how to handle the speed, the noise, and the pressure. And according to stories from the production, he pushed harder than many people expected. That created a problem. The more believable he became, the more nervous the production became. Because there is a huge difference between acting fearless and actually driving fast enough to scare the insurance people. That detail changes how you see the racing scenes. When Cole grips the wheel, stares through the windshield, and looks locked inside the moment, it does not feel completely fake. Part of that intensity comes from Cruise wanting the audience to believe he belonged in that car. The performance was not just in his face, it was in the way he chased the danger. Today, a racing movie can hide a lot behind digital effects. But Days of Thunder was made in a different era. The crashes had weight because real cars were being pushed, damaged, and destroyed. The filmmakers used practical stunt work and real racing energy to make the impact feel physical. That is why the wrecks feel so violent. They do not look clean, they do not look perfectly controlled. They feel messy, sudden, and dangerous. And that matters because the crashes are not just action moments. They change the emotional direction of the movie. Once Cole and Rowdy are injured, the film stops being only about winning. It becomes about what speed costs a person after the cheering stops. The cars may be machines, but the damage feels human. One of the smartest things in Days of Thunder is that the movie does not only make the track feel intense, it makes the pit road feel intense too. The pit stops were not filmed like background details. They were staged with rhythm, speed, and pressure. Every movement mattered. Every mistake could cost a race. That is why those scenes feel almost like combat. The car stops, but the tension does not. Tires move. Tools hit metal, crew members shout, the clock keeps attacking everyone. For viewers who did not understand NASCAR, this was important. The film showed that racing was not only about one driver being brave, it was a system, a team. A few seconds in the pit could destroy everything built on the track. And this is the kind of detail that helped the movie sell racing as drama, not just speed. For a racing movie, this was risky. The hero is supposed to be fearless. He is supposed to get back in the car, hit the gas, and become stronger right away. But Days of Thunder slows that down. After the crash, Cole is not just physically hurt, he is shaken. His confidence is broken. The thing that once gave him identity suddenly becomes the thing he fears. That makes the movie more emotional than it first appears. The hospital scenes and recovery moments are not just filler between races. They show the mental cost of speed, light, noise, memory, anger, hesitation. The movie hints at a kind of trauma that racing films often skip, and that is why Cole's comeback works. He does not win because he never felt fear. He wins because he has to face it. At first glance, the romance in Days of Thunder looks like a typical Hollywood subplot. The driver gets injured, the doctor challenges him, the relationship adds emotion between the races. But behind the camera, that chemistry became impossible to ignore. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's connection did not stay only inside the story. Their relationship became real, and after the movie, it became one of the most talked about Hollywood romances of the era. That gives the film a strange extra layer. When Cole and Claire argue, connect, and slowly lower their defenses, there is a charge there that does not feel completely manufactured. The movie is about losing control, and in a way, that happened off-screen too. The script created a romance, but the production created a real-life headline that followed both stars far beyond the racetrack. That is the detail that makes Days of Thunder feel less like a simple 1990 racing film and more like a moment where Hollywood fiction and Hollywood reality collided. Looking back, Days of Thunder is louder, stranger, and more emotional than people often remember. It was sold as a racing movie, but underneath the engines, it was about ego, fear, trust, damage, and the cost of chasing speed before you understand yourself. That is why the film still has a place in 90s movie memory. Not because it was subtle, but because it was sincere. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and tell us which Days of Thunder fact surprised you the most. Because every movie has a mask, and we are here to take it off.